Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Things Logic. I'm Jeremy Haas. Today we are going to be working on clean guitars. I'm going to show you how I push Logic Pro's stock plugins to sound like a tube amp. When you push one really hard, it starts to break up. It's pretty cool. And this is part of my Build a Song series, so let's get started. Yeah. Alright guys, so as I said in the beginning, we've already created ourselves a drum track, and it's a drummer guide track. We might change some of that later. I will, and I'll show you guys how I go about doing that. And then we also did a DI bass track, and we created the tone for that, the grit, sub, and clean layer, so it can cut through the mix a little better, okay? And today we are working on guitars. And real quick, I just want to let you know, if you've been following the series, I actually just changed this song on you, okay? But and the reason I did this is because this has more stuff that we can work with in this song. Like, I've got vocal lines for it, vocal lyrics and stuff like that. I've actually know this song pretty well. And it also has clean guitars, like cleanish crunchy guitars, and heavy guitars also. So it gives us a little bit more to get to know, to work with. So yeah, so here we go. Let me just hit play so you can hear what it kind of sounds like real quick and what we're going to be after today.
Look on my face, you know that I ain't playing. Through the walls and through our lives, I stayed up so long I thought I would go blind.
We're after this clean guitar part you're hearing right here, okay? Okay, so here is the amp we're going to be using today, and you can go find that right here. And you can go down to Amp Designer. Wait, it'd be right here. Go to Amp Designer and choose mono, not stereo. If you're panning hard left and hard right and you're doing two separate tracks, always, if they're going to be mono, it's basically you want it mono, okay? Because I don't know how to explain it right, but if you use stereo amp on a mono left, hard pan, it's going to do this weird kind of phasing thing. It won't sound right, okay? So definitely pick mono for that. And what I'm using, you can go up to presets and you can go to clean and find yourself a clean amp here, but I personally just go to the amp and change the amp head right here, and I went to a mini tweed amp. I'm not using, there's three different tweeds here. They all kind of look the same, a little bit colors, a little bit different, but we want the mini because we want it to break apart nice, okay, when we push it. And then I'm using the vintage, changed the vintage to vintage British 12, 412s, okay? This will just help it not be so boomy, so bassy. We want the bass to cut through. We want it to sit well with the bass guitar, basically, okay? And also, let's check this out. You might hear a difference because I went and changed. You can do, this is a really cool little trick. You can change, for each amp, you can customize the EQ. So each EQ has its own special sound. This is usually on vintage. Check this out. Total different sound, huh? I really like this custom, this British Bright that I like to use, and you can do this on any amp, okay? You can also go and change your reverb to anything, okay? But one thing I want to suggest is I wouldn't use a reverb too much on your amps. Never on the amp. Use it as a send later, so we can add how much we want to it, okay? Because we want to process this amp without a bunch of reverb on it, okay? We don't want too much bass end, and mids push and a little bit of treble, and the presence is pretty good to have this up on this one. And yeah, and master we want around 7. I always keep my master around 7 on any amp. And I have my British 412 here, and I got my SM57 microphone, okay? And one other thing is I want to say is always color your guitar with all this stuff. Do everything you want. Turn this up as much as you need to, down as much as you need to. Don't worry about the level of your amp. That we'll do later on using a level meter, and we'll gain stage and make sure it's not, because right here is where you actually turn down the level. It won't affect your sound here. This is where you turn this up or down to make sure that adding this plugin doesn't make your signal so hot it starts to clip, okay? All right, next is our compression. I just use this. I don't usually use this on any distorted guitars, but since this has got clean in it, I use it just for the really high spikes, okay? So we just use this very lightly, and you can go find this down in Dynamics under compressor, okay? And again, I chose mono, and so I'm just using like 3 to 1 on the ratio, and I'm just the attack is at 30 milliseconds and 110 milliseconds release, okay? Now, it depends on how fast your song is, what style it is, eighth notes, quarter notes, so you're gonna want your attack and release different for each guitar part. So, and I'm just using a little bit of gain reduction, like 1 to 2, I believe it is. Just enough to catch the spikes, okay? Okay, so that's all that's going on. You really shouldn't even be able to tell much of a difference right now. Check this out. Okay, so that's just a real light one. And then next what I did is I threw you can go find that right under EQ, a channel EQ, mono, and I threw a channel EQ on there, and I'm just using this not to shape the tone. I did that with my amp head, okay? I'm just using a high pass filter, and I'm cutting 80 hertz out of this, and just a slight slant there, okay? So this is just to cut out that really low end, so the bass, because that's where the bass lives right here, okay? And the kick drum lives right here. So we're just gonna do a little there, okay? Next, this is a tube EQ. It makes it like a vintage tube amp sound. We're gonna go to EQ, and you're gonna go down to this very bottom one. It's kind of hidden, and right here, vintage tube and mono, okay? And that looks like this. And again, I'm just using this a little bit. I'm not touching any of this, anything. I'm leaving this all the same, but I'm just giving this a little boost right here of 0.1. I'm leaving the tension alone. This should be default at 60 hertz. And then I'm turning up the high just 1 and on 1. And I changed this to 8 hertz is fine, okay? And so everything else I basically left the same. That's all we need on this bad boy, okay? Just a little bit. You won't even tell it much, but when you start stacking up, if you do too much EQ moves now, when you start stacking guitars and other things, it'll start being too much. So just a little bit now. We can always change this later, okay? And I use a level meter to make sure that everything's not too hot. You know, I always use this. I use this every day, all day long, actually, okay? And you can always find a level meter. You can go find that down in metering and under level meter there, okay? This will tell you, you want to keep it anywhere between -12 and -6. You don't want to get too hot, your signal, with all your plugins, getting stage right, you know? And by doing all this now, we don't have to do as much later on in the mixing process, okay? So let me show you with both. And then also, okay, so I'm not going to get into sends and buses too much right now, but I'll just run over it really quick. So I've been send the signal to add some reverb to this sound, okay? So check it out. Here's without the reverb and with it. You can hear the difference there. And so the way I do this is I go down and I click on there and I go down, I get myself a bus that's not being used. And I use that, and then once that's done, I'll make sure this is on post pan, okay? This is so when we turn it to the left ear, pan it to the left ear, the reverb goes to the left ear, okay? It's only affecting the left ear because we're gonna do it on the right ear also, okay? For the other track, okay? And then I went and found Chrome Verb, which is down reverb, Chrome Verb right here, and this is a little different. You're gonna choose stereo on this, not dual mono. And I'm not going to get into exactly why it goes that way, but that's how you use the reverb for this, okay? And then you can hit Option on your keyboard because it's going to be like the sends is going to be off or somewhere close to off, and you can hit Option on your keyboard, click on this, and it'll take it to 0, and that's where you want it. That's a lot of reverb. And then once you're on this bus, this is how you'll blend in the reverb from here, okay? So check this out. This is a lot of reverb. No reverb. So this is where I turn it up, not right here at the sends. Just a little bit, okay? So I did the same thing with this, the right ear also. So with both of these on, you're gonna hear, it's gonna sound like this.
All day and through the night.
Okay, so just getting started. We're just starting to build our songs slowly. Okay, we got a lot more processing and stuff to do. Next, we'll start working on our heavy guitars next, okay? So please check out my channel, All Things Logic, if you want to see more videos like this. And also, this is a playlist again, Build a Song in Logic Pro, step by step, if you want to check that out, okay? So I'm Jeremy Hawes. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. That leaves it wide open. See you guys.